All right, welcome back, guys. Tonight we're going to go over some off-season topics that Jared and Jenay have been getting into. We've been doing random stuff such as hunting, different styles of working out. We got married. What else have we been doing? That's it.
Just gloss over that one.
We're just going to gloss over that one.
Got married.
Yeah. That one is pretty big. Like, it took up a lot of stuff.
It took up a lot of time and a lot of stuff. Yeah. You want to go over that real quick?
Go over it. I mean, we got married.
You want to talk about how great it was?
We had a really small wedding, like 25 people.
Yeah.
Just had family in town and had a big Airbnb that we did a ceremony at, and which was not the original plan.
Jared tried to beat you down the aisle.
And the weather was bad, so we had this like outdoor venue plan, and then nothing turned out the way that we thought it would. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we were surrounded by friends and family, and really enjoyed quality time with everyone, and it was great. We got married. I mean, that was the goal.
I thought it was good.
Next to Bob Marley.
You got to play pool with my daughter.
Yeah, Peyton beat me at pool.
Gangster.
Peyton's
Absolutely
legit.
beat me. I beat her at foosball though, so we're 1 for 1.
Yeah. I was teaching her how on foosball. I was like, yeah, if they stand too close to the table, jab them with the little thing.
Oh, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
That was fun though.
Yeah, we got married, so that would have been 3 weeks after nationals.
Mm-hmm.
So the time since nationals has literally just been spent preparing for the wedding. Even though it was small, everything still takes some planning, and especially when things weren't working out as we thought it would, and having to pivot on mostly everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I've just been focused on that for the most part, and then working here at the gym.
Yep.
Coaching my people.
Yep.
Lots of CrossFit.
The wedding was going to be at a place that I have that's like 12 acres.
Yeah.
Sunset in the exact right place. Everything. Yeah. And then it rained, and that would have been a horrible.
It would have been so.
It would have been so
sticky.
Everyone.
Yeah.
I was like, girl, it's like clay out there.
Anyone
so
who's been
to caked TSA to the boots. Yeah.
And knows the mud when it's a little bit wet at TSA.
Yeah.
This property is literally like what, a mile?
It's 1 mile south.
A couple miles.
If you look south from TSA, the first tree line that you see is the property.
Yeah. So it would have been very unfriendly to be in, and it was cold outside. So.
Oh, it was freezing that day.
Dang it.
It's all good.
So y'all, like, it was supposed to stop raining. So y'all were going to kind of do it outside at the place, at the Airbnb. And then like 30 minutes before it was like, nope, still misting.
Nope, still misting.
Wet.
So
I was supposed to stop misting at like 1 and then 2. And then I text Cody and was like, hey man, I got to come pick up this cross. Like, we have to get married today. I have to come pick up this cross.
And it's so clear out a room and make it happen.
Yep.
Cleared out the living room, moved the living room furniture, and my parents had this swanky little Airbnb.
It was pretty sweet.
It definitely was very vibey. And the vibes in the living room were Bob Marley's mural on the wall. And who's the other guy? Steve Miller? Steve Lee.
The game room had like black walls with like stars painted on.
Stars painted.
Planets and a spaceman.
Astronaut on the wall with a cat. There's a cat on the wall.
Glow in the dark things.
They have these big old black light things you could turn on.
Oh, in the upstairs in the living room, there was a mugshot station, and my family covered up the height thing that you stand behind when you get a mugshot. So they covered it up with a gold like party decoration. The wall, but the mugshots of the celebrities were still on the side. So who was it? Like Prince, Frank Sinatra,
Johnny Cash.
Like mugshots of these celebrities are on the side of it still. So I'm like walking down the aisle, which is like open this room, and walk out to the living room where we've got this cross. That we're cross altar that we're getting married at, and I'm walking
Johnny Cash's mugshot.
Like they said all these things. Oh my god, what is happening right now? But it was awesome. Good stories to tell, and
that game room you could turn off the real lights and turn on black lights.
Oh,
did you see?
You're like, don't do it.
Yeah,
don't do it.
All of the stars on the walls lit up and stuff. Yeah, dude, that is great.
Hannah was like, "Who is it?" And I was like, "Somebody that's on drugs."
Yeah,
100%. This was a great idea.
Fantastic. The game room was pretty fun. It
Game room
turned
was
out.
fun.
Yeah, because we had to be inside anyways.
And dinner was great. I mean, everybody was shoved in the little kitchen living room area. There was like 25 people in there.
No, it was awesome. The like being around a ton of very big weddings. Like the bride and groom end up spending like literally before the wedding, there's a plan, and they're like, you have 30 seconds with each guest to be able to talk to each guest after your first dance and like all this stuff. And then like what my sisters would do is they would guide them around and like literally after 25-30 seconds start being like, okay, well, it was really nice, and like they would end the conversation with those people for them and like move them to the next one.
Oh man.
And to make sure they got to say hi to everybody that was there and whatever. And there was like literal structured times that they could like basically okay, for this 15 minutes you're free to do what you want.
Yeah.
And then like 14 minutes and 30 seconds later they're going to start saying hi, time to do this, time for the first dance, time to cut the cake, time for your first this, time for like.
It sounds exhausting.
Yeah, man. Like, I mean, I told you, I was like, don't worry about not having a big one. Everybody hates it. And like the morning after is the hangover, like probably a little bit of a hangover, but like also the hangover from the wedding is like, what did we just waste all of our money on?
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
So
the things we did spend money on, I was very happy that we spent money on.
Yeah, we're able to keep a lot of it.
Yeah. And we got to hang out genuinely with everyone there, which was great.
Most definitely.
And I loved that.
Man, that's what I was getting at, is y'all have to spend a lot of like quality time with the people. Like, there's people that weren't there that you obviously care about, but like
for sure
your closest family and all that stuff is there. And I was happy for you guys that you had to spend very quality time and have a good time and actually hang out and all that stuff. It was really good.
Yeah, definitely love that we did it small like that.
Yep.
That's the way to go.
Yep. I had good. It was good. What else? Hunting?
Maybe working out first. You haven't even been here.
I did my first workout today.
Jared hasn't been in the gym at all.
Jared is not been here.
No.
First workout today?
Like, yeah. No. I worked out last week.
You did one. You came from one of the
one,
classes.
and I decided I left the gym, and I was like, I'm still in way too good a shape. Like, I can afford another week.
Oh my gosh, that's too
life.
funny.
So I decided to take another week after that, and first workout back was an absolute banger. So it was a 32-minute workout with, anyway, it was kind of like a morning mono structure thing. And then turned it into, I always try and turn things into the smallest number possible. So instead of thinking of 32 minutes, I thought of 8 rounds. And like round 6, I like inhaled spit and was like, then closed my mouth and tried not to like, because you gag a little bit when that happens. And like I threw up through my nose a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
As Jenay says, I love this for me.
Yeah. That's a Jenay statement if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
Do you work out at your house?
Yeah. It was just biker against skier. So
Oh.
I always try and hit machines first just to get like everything moving again. And like with things tighten up in such weird places, and the worst thing that you can do is just go straight back into it, because like you don't even know. Every year you don't know what, like right now my shoulder's super tight, and like my shoulders are solid.
Right.
My shoulders have never, I wouldn't say never get hurt, but like my shoulders have always been solid. And like my shoulder, playing basketball with my son, my shoulder was like, ow, like what the hell? And things tighten up in such a weird way, and you have to shake all that out and make sure things are limber and loose and ready to go again. So getting back into it. So I'm gonna try and be probably under 195 pounds this year. I've been hanging out at like 210. So haven't really, we can talk about goals going into next year.
Yeah,
like,
we can do that.
I've never eaten well. I've gone through bouts of like a week and a half, 2 weeks where I track what I eat and stuff like that. And it's amazing. I feel great. And I'm just, whatever. Eating again. And that's one of my primary focuses this year is if I've noticed anything about getting a little bit older, it's I used to be able to eat whatever I want, and my body is fine all the time. Getting older, you can't, the diet thing, you can't.
Yeah.
It
And inflammation, right? Like
Yes.
your diet plays so heavily into
yeah, it impacts
your
you.
inflammatory levels, and you
Yeah.
just can't afford that when you're older as much.
Yeah, it starts impacting you way more.
Mhm.
And then when I'm eating well, I notice the difference in the gym. And before, like 3-4 years ago, when I was eating well, all I really noticed is that I mean, it sounds gross, but like I didn't smell as much when I would sweat. And so like, I guess that's also being hydrated, but like whenever I'm eating real bad, my sweat smells worse.
Yeah.
And like
For sure.
body odor and stuff is worse. But anyway,
Are you good over there?
I'm good now. This camera decided it wanted to die. We're good.
I don't think we have a longer cord.
Damn. Well, this is I'll be right back.
We can just pause it if we need to.
All right. Sorry, we had a camera malfunction, but we're good. Jenay, what have you been doing for fitness over the last couple weeks?
I definitely took a whole week off, maybe slightly more after nationals. And then getting back to stuff, just like Jared said, I did cardio only, and I didn't do it regularly. Like maybe if I wanted to do it, I'd go and do a cardio workout, but
Sure.
I love that with machines, slow impact. And then I can also do less. Like I don't have to try that hard. I could just go for time.
Mhm.
So I'm getting movement in and feeling good about it, but I'm not putting an expectation on myself to hit certain numbers or anything like that.
Sure.
And then I honestly,
We're good.
I honestly have not been doing much fitness wise yet. I think taking a whole month to chill and just do workouts for fun is pretty good. Coming back to stuff and just like Jared said, keeping range of motion and not doing anything too stressful. Also, my hand has been not like ready yet.
Yeah.
To pull anything, so I can't do much upper body pulling or.
You tried to use the
pressing
garden
or
hose
anything.
yesterday and it felt pretty bad.
Yeah, I can't even handle the garden hose right now. So we're getting there.
So what are your goals moving into the off season?
Like
Fitness goals?
strength.
I guess off season's over, but
Yeah,
Well,
ramping back up.
ramping back up. The off season in this sport is ridiculous. It's literally like
2 weeks.
yeah, and then there's an event in February.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, end of January, beginning of
Just
February,
doesn't
something
feel
like
like
that.
there's ever
Are
any
you
off
going to
time.
though?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I would die if I tried.
Yeah. But I think I'm looking forward to getting into some strength building over the next few weeks.
We're camera professionals.
No, yeah. I thought I was a camera.
It's a good thing we can
professional.
shoot and
We're
work
just
out because
getting
we
way worse.
suck at everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
All I was saying was strength cycle,
Strength cycle.
strength season.
More weight.
I just got roasted on Instagram like
yeah,
a
Hebner
couple days
roasted
ago
you.
about too much cardio. So I'm gonna eat a lot of food and lift a lot of weights, and that's it.
Again, it's roly poly season.
Yeah, you told me that when I like last season or whatever that I need to be a roly poly, and then it just never really left. Like I was like, oh, we're gonna be a roly poly for like, until this point, until we're 2 months out from nationals, and then we'll like lean out and get super fit, and that point just never hit.
Yeah.
I just stayed in roly poly land all the way through nationals. Not that I was like super chunky at nationals, but those
Jared, that's
those
the difference
habits
of like
never
4
left.
pounds on the scale.
That's what I remember, because you hadn't been here very long when I
No.
had that. It was really, I guess you've been here like a couple months, but we hadn't really had like,
I think this was January of this year.
yeah, and it was really like the first time that you were going to be here for like a whole year.
Yeah.
And you know enough about fitness and stuff. Like I'm not your fitness coach. And I think that there's a lot of stuff that's like misconstrued about the way we train together. Like
Uh-huh.
you shoot with me.
Right.
There is I will never teach somebody how to shoot.
Yeah.
But like we shoot together and we just talk about it while we're doing it.
Yeah.
And then you shoot alone much more than you shoot with me. But we knew each other pretty well, but not real well. And I just kind of broke the ice that day. Because I mean, you can delete this if you don't want it in there, but you had talked like a little bit about like body image. I want to look good, and I was like, you know what I want to look like? I want to look like somebody that wins. And in order to do that, you need to come in here looking like a roly-poly by like next week. And it's like, it's time to get strong. Like,
So we went out and got a Ninja Creamy. We've been eating Ninja Creamy.
That was
right.
speaking my heart language though. When he was like, when he says that, like that's the kind of shit that gets me amped. I was like, I went home that night. I remember messaging Jake about it. I went home that night and slammed ice cream. And I was like, it's roly poly season. Jared said, you want to, if you want to win, you got to look like roly poly. Like that night. It was awesome.
I mean, it's different for everybody, right? But like at some point, somebody needed to tell you. And I was like, here we go. We're going to find out if she shows up tomorrow or never talks, doesn't show up and never talks to me again. So
the concept of like, do you want to win or do you want to look cute? Like, and not saying I didn't look nice at nationals or whatever. Like, I'm not worried about it in that way, but it's like your actions, like throughout the season, like you kind of have a conversation with yourself when you make that decision of like, am I going to slam this ice cream tonight? As an example, it's like, do you want to win? Yes. Like that needs to supersede the conversation of like, oh, do I want to look good in this?
I think the only thing people are going to take away from this is you have to eat ice cream in order to win.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Obviously, that's what I'm trying to say.
That's the truth.
Whataburger and ice cream.
Whataburger and ice cream. Today is all about the Whataburger and ice cream.
No,
Zach and I early on in tactical games, because like early on in tactical games, there was some saucy dudes hanging around, and because Zach and I would go into competition and you're looking around and you're like, oh my god, these guys look like
behemoths.
Oh my, they're huge,
mammoths.
And we learned pretty early, like if you look at, you're not that guy. And it was always the guys that had big backs, and like what I'm talking about, if you know, like a big back, thick thighs, and a big butt. If you're a dude and you have those three things, you can work, and that's what this sport is about, is being able to work. And if you're working on your biceps, you're not working on those other things. And so it's like you could always tell, and not to say like there's competitors that like by the end of the season everybody's got kind of big biceps and stuff like that, but it's like proportionally speaking, huge thighs, big backs, like traps, stuff like that. That's where when you see a guy walk up and their arms don't quite fill out their sleeves, but it looks like their traps run into their ears, like you've got somebody that can move weight. And so anyway, it's like the perception of what somebody looks, the magazine perception of what people think you should look like versus what somebody looks like that can get a lot of work done are two different things.
Sure.
So, but that's what I meant by that. I just needed to slam that point home. Also get a feeling for who I was dealing with. Like, is she going to go cry in a corner after I say this? Or is she going to be all right? And
no, I was jazzed.
Leaned into it.
I was
So
like,
that's
let's
good.
fucking go.
Oh, all right. So what other off-season activities have you been up to?
You've been hunting a lot.
Yeah, that's honestly, I was hunting a lot before nationals too. I mean, I wasn't here very much. I talk about my kids a lot, but they're at a super cool age where we can hunt in much different ways. And it's just really cool to see them be able to experience that and be a part of it. And championship, the Tactical Games National Championship lines up with the Rut in Texas, and it has for the last however many years, four or 5 years that there's been championships. So it lands right in the middle of it, and the Rut in Texas is like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and it's always right when I need to be in the gym for 3 or 4 hours. And this year I just wasn't going to do it, so we were out hunting deer, and it was a lot of fun. So
the Rut is when they're in heat, and the
Rut is when the does go into estrus and the bucks start getting real dumb. So
what's estrus?
Estrus is they're in heat.
Oh, okay.
And they're ready to breed. And deer, big mature deer that you never see, will start showing up, and they've been there the whole time, but they will only move at night. And they're they stay within a very small, and this is like what is true in Texas is not true in other places, like with the areas they move in, and maybe even like as small as like the region that I hunt in. But like we have a ton of trail cameras out at our ranch, and it's a private ranch that it's low fence. Like we don't do the high game fence. It's low fence, free range deer, right? So these deer can hop a fence and be gone, you know, but it's big ranches, West Texas oil field stuff. And the my family staked this place out whenever they were here, you know, 150 years ago, whatever. So the property's been in the family forever because like nobody can afford ranches these size anymore. But so we have a ton of cameras out there, and you will see deer. There's a couple different things. There'll be a buck that you see that's a good buck, and you will see it on like 2 cameras that are within a couple hundred yards of each other. And then it will never show up on any other camera. Like that is its spot, right? And like it's probably not leaving like a 2 or 3 football size area on the ranch. Like they stay. Like when they there's a lot of people who talk about hunting, and when they talk about it, they say like, you know, when you go into it, like the reason why you never see these huge mature deer is like you're literally in their house. And like if you were walking in your house through your house one day and somebody was just like standing in the corner, you'd look over and be like, no, like, you're not supposed to be here. It's like this tree grew cancer on it immediately,
Right.
you know? So like, and if they smell something that's off, you know, deer don't, their senses are great, but like a lot of people really pump up their senses a lot. It's just like they notice if something's not the same as it was the last 300 times they walk down this trail every morning. You know, like they know something's different. And
is that space specific to the rut, or are you talking all the time?
no, that's like all year.
Okay.
That's where they stay all year. Then for a week and a half, they will go wherever the doe takes them. So like if that's not that doe's home range, or like they smell that doe, is like there's a smell that they get. And like they also do rut lines or rub lines. You know, people call them different things, but like they'll go and they scrape the ground and lick a tree, and then they have scent glands on their forehead, and they rub their forehead over the limbs, and then a doe will walk by and then pee on that spot, and then that buck knows that there's a hot doe in the area, and then they'll go find that doe. So they'll start moving during the day, and then they're moving into areas that they're not as familiar with, and then that's when you have your chance.
Yeah.
And then they're actually moving. Like the deer I shot this year, we've been seeing it for, it used to be way bigger than it is now, but we've been seeing it for 5 years, probably. It was huge when it was like 2.5.
Right.
And 2 years in a row, it broke like right above its brow tine and stuff. But all that to say, we've been seeing it, but it's literally like chasing a ghost. Like you see a dark, like we'd be on a spot where we're glassing, and like you see a dark shadow moving through stuff, and like you see every now and then like it would cross over a patch of like lighter ground, and you could see its antlers, and like, oh my god, that thing's huge, but I don't know how huge. And like it's huge, but is it huge on this side and like has a little dinky one on this? Because that happens sometimes. And that one year it broke off on one side, so they'll move around during that week and a half. And if you don't get them in that week and a half, you're not going to get them. They're gone, literally gone. And there's been times like we've walked up on other deer and you're standing 10 feet from them and you had no idea that they were sitting, you know, on the other side of a bush. And like they just won't move. They'll watch you walk right past them and you'll never see them. And you know, the only reason why you know that is like you'll walk past a 3.5-year-old deer and like look back and like, whoa, like there was a deer right there. And anyway, and like you'll be in a tree stand and you'll see a deer come in, and then one of the we call them pumpers, but they're like the guys that check on the pump jacks. A pump jack is the thing that moves to pump oil out of the ground. I have a lot of lingo that nobody else understands. Like, anyway,
rednecks.
Yeah. And like the pumper will come through and like literally you'll just start hearing gravel under the tires first. And the deer will they'll get they will get like a thick piece of brush like mesquite or undergrowth, whatever. And as like if this is the bush, as the truck is driving by, they just will keep that bush between them and the truck. And then the truck drives by and they'll kind of hang around there because they know he's coming back. And then when he comes back, they just keep that brush in between.
Oh.
And like they just kind of slowly walk and like keep the brush in between them and the thing, or they'll go run into a thick area and like get into the middle of it and wait for him to come back and leave, and then they walk out. Like they have that guy patterned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they know he's gonna pass and they know he's coming back, and they just stay hidden. So they do crap like that all the time. And it's really like when you're in tree stands and they don't know you're there, and then somebody else comes around, like a pumper or the cattle guy or whoever, and you see how they act and react to that stuff, that you realize like I don't have a chance.
Right.
Like you're never gonna see these things.
Right.
And as sneaky as you think you're being, like you're like a 5-year-old playing hide and go seek. You know? So anyway, that's kind of like the rut in Texas is that, and you're just there's a week and a half that you have an opportunity to shoot like really big deer.
Yeah.
And
you grew up going out there?
Yeah. So I mean, there's an old, on Google Maps, I'm not going to tell anybody where my ranch is, but I mean, they could look it up on tax rolls and find out. But there's a old house and like on Google Earth that says ruins, and like that was where my great grandparents lived.
Uh-huh.
You
Wow.
know? So
That's cool.
maybe even more than that. They coexisted with the Indians out there. So like Indians were still in Texas when they were living out there, and like the Comanche would come from Oklahoma. Well, the last person that was scalped in Texas was scalped literally across the river from our ranch. And when I mean across the river, like you're standing on this bank of the river, he was scalped on the other side of the river. So the rental, I'm not going to say that out loud. But the ranch right across from us,
Mm-hmm.
last guy, he was a 8-year-old kid. He got scalped and he died like 3 years later from infections and stuff. So like our family's been out there forever.
That's crazy. Did your dad teach you to hunt?
Yeah. And it's different. It's a progression. Like
Yeah.
he taught me how to hunt the same way I taught my kids how to hunt, because it's perfect. Like a lot of people that are really into hunting, like as much as I'm into shooting and tactical games, hunting, it doesn't even hold a candle to hunting. But
Why? Because it's so real. The pursuit is primal.
Yeah, it's mainly just like not. It's not about any of that. I could care less about the primal crap. But it's just like, you know this about me, and Jake knows about me. I don't talk to anybody.
Yeah,
and it's perfect because I don't have to talk to anybody when I'm out there. I could stay out there. A lot of people don't know, but like probably 8 hours of my day, I don't say one word. Like I'm in my house, my kids are at school, my wife's at work, and I work. Shockingly, like I still work, but I'm working and I don't talk. I may not say a word for 8 hours every day, all day.
Yeah.
And or every week, every day. So I get to go out there. I get to be in a place that I like to be. I don't have to talk to anybody. My phone doesn't work, and there's a lot of people that have like fantasy about that, but then I'll take people out there with me sometimes, and like a day and a half later, like, hey, can we go to that spot where we get service so I can check this or check that? It's like I don't want to go to that spot, because like Jake knows, like from when he worked for me, that I'll go to a spot and I'll get like 170 text messages. My Instagram messages that I got that pop up, I'll get like 300 Instagram messages, Facebook, like all this, it all emails, it all hits at once. And I'm like, oh my God, so like I will not take my phone over there.
Yeah, no.
And so that being said, if I'm hunting and then I come back and you notice like you've messaged me and I just heart that thing and move on, it's because I'm trying to acknowledge that I've read everybody's stuff, and like I'm not just leaving you unread. But I'm trying to burn through a ton of messages all at once. but I loved going out there just for that and having something to do. Hunting, shooting big deer lost its luster probably 10 years ago for me. Every now and then I'll get excited about one and shoot one, but like it's more about just the process of doing it. And but like the way I'm teaching my kids, the way I was taught to hunt, we rode around in trucks and ride around in trucks, and you gotta look for deer, and it is impossible. Like they'll flicker a tail. You're like, shit, there's one, you know, and you have to sit there and look at it. And then you'll see a doe kind of move out and start walking. And then a couple minutes later, the buck that was chasing it will kind of move around. And then kind of the reason why I've always been fast and easy at like finding targets has never been a problem for me in scopes and like all that stuff. Because I was 6 years old hanging outside the passenger side of a truck with a 243 and a scope. And like I had to find the deer in the scope real fast and shoot it. And like it's like camouflage wears Waldo, you know.
Yeah.
And but it's like people in hunting say it's like a silver spoon, and like we definitely have the hunting silver spoon in the fact that like our deer aren't pressured that much, and we have a lot of them, and you can find them. And riding around in a truck during the rut is an easy way to hunt them. And every year I shot a deer. Every year I started with a small deer. And the next year my dad found one that was a little bit bigger than that, and then a little bit bigger than that, and a little bit bigger. It's like you've been in my garage and like seen the antlers, and like it starts with a really little one, and like each one is a little bigger than the one before that. So I'm sure of it that we saw bigger deer, but I had no idea what I was looking at when I was 6 or 7 or 8.
Right.
But like my dad would be like, all right, that's the one, you know, but I'm sure we saw bigger ones and he just didn't want me to shoot it. But he never shot one. I've seen him shoot like 3 deer. And so then there's progression like that. And then he would always, and I don't know if he did it on purpose or if this is just like, hey, this is kind of the easier way to do it. And now we're getting older, we're going to start doing this stuff. And then it started until we'd get out every now and then and rattle. Rattling, I'm gonna explain it all.
Yeah, please do.
Rattling, you get 2 antlers, you set up in a spot where downwind, so bucks are always going to try and circle downwind of you, like even before you see them. They'll do a 150-yard circle just to get downwind of you first, so that way they can smell what's going on. And a lot of people are like, they're smelling to see if there's a threat there, if it's a person. There are no people at our ranch. And like our ranch has neighboring ranches that are like, I think one's 60 to 70,000 acres. Another one's like 30 or 40,000 acre, like big ranches all the way around. And some of them have hunters on them, some don't, like all that other stuff. But they're circling downwind to find out which bucks are fighting, right? So basically what you're doing is you're setting up the scene that 2 bucks are fighting, and bucks are very territorial during the rut. So we went over to like their rut line that they scrape the dirt and their antlers and stuff on. Well, that's in their territory. So if they think 2 bucks are fighting in their territory, now they're bent out of shape about it because they're like, this is my spot and there's 2 bucks fighting in my spot. But what they're doing is they're going to circle downwind to make sure that bucks that are fighting are not the bigger, badder bucks than they are, because then they don't want any piece of it. They may show up and like look around, but they're not coming in hot, you know?
Yeah.
So you bang antlers together, you get limbs, you break limbs, you scrape your feet around. I mean, you make it sound like they're tearing into each other. And bucks will circle downwind or try to circle downwind. And you try to have your shooting lanes to where like before they get downwind of you, you're going to get a chance. And we usually try to bow hunt when we're doing this. And you want them to cross a lane, like an open spot that you can see before they get downwind of you. Because when they get downwind of you, they're going to figure out it's 2 rednecks in the woods. You know, like they don't necessarily know you're the ones banging antlers together, but all of a sudden it's like red flag goes up. That doesn't smell normal, and they're out of there. And so we would start doing that. And then, you know, there's times, there's sometimes nothing comes. But then there's sometimes like me and my dad were sitting there rattling, and there's 5 10 points, a spike, and an 8 point, all within like 40 yards of us, just like looking
Holy
around,
Oh
like,
my gosh.
looking at each other, like, is it you or, you know, who's fighting here? And like, it was just mass confusion
Reminds me of
all the way
that,
around us.
that meme where they're like in the circle with
Yes.
the guns pointed at each
Yeah.
other.
Because like
From
they don't
Anchorman.
want to fight,
Right.
but they will fight. And you know, like deer, by the end of the season, all their antlers are all broke up and tines are broken off and from fighting and stuff. And you know, you get some that come in real hot because it is a dominant buck and they're not scared. Like, this is my spot. I know I'm the baddest one around, and they may not even come in from downwind. They're just, they hear it and they're like, I'm about to go fuck some people. I'm like, they're in my area. Here I come. And that's what last time I was hunting with Peyton, my daughter, and it was me, my wife, my son, my daughter, and we went and set up in this one place and we rattled up like 4 deer and they were there. And we had rattled the year before, but that was really the first time we rattled and like they got to see it happen. And so like you start sprinkling in the stuff that you have to have more patience for and the stuff that you have to like, that is when you're learning to hunt. So like you plant the seed by getting real excited, seeing deer, going after deer, accomplishing shooting a deer, stuff like that. And then you start, hey, there's this other way that we can do it. It's a little bit more exciting. You have to have more, like the reward is greater because you worked harder for it. And it's harder to do. You have to have patience. It doesn't work out every time. You may rattle 100 times and deer come 15 times or 0, but like most of the time it's like a 20%, 30% success rate. And then having being out at the ranch my entire life, like I know where to go. And like I know exactly where to go to rattle and have something come up. And like I know where to go to rattle and we might not see anything, but if we do see something, it's going to be a big one. Or I know where to go. It's like we're going to see 10.
Yeah.
But you're not going to shoot any of them. It's just exciting to see deer running around. So you just kind of start that. And then, you know, it's Texas. So we hunt over corn. And that's kind of a contentious thing across the United States. Like some people are like, that's not real hunting. So the thing is about hunting over corn is that they know that people are associated with corn, right? So like they get feeder shy. Big bucks don't come into feeders. Like you're really shooting like the tier down from the top if you're hunting over a feeder, because the top tier deer will not come into a feeder. Even if there's a doe in heat, they're going to stand 100 yards downwind and they are not coming into this thing. And because they've survived 6-8 years by watching other deer get hammered under a feeder, and like I'm not doing that anymore. You know, so they don't come. And they've seen people at neighboring ranches walk into their blinds drunk and like walk back out and just being dumb. But anyway, so they get feeder shy. They won't come around feeders and stuff. But
do you guys still use feeders though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it keeps the does in the area.
Oh.
It's like doe don't care.
Got it.
I mean, doe are pretty skittish, but like if you're keeping the does that are going to come into heat in the area, then the bucks are in the area.
Right.
So you can kind of keep them in the area. And next progression is tree stands, which we have big pecan trees, and we'll go sit in the pecan trees, and there's a feeder there, and you have to be quiet. You have to sit there, be nearly motionless, scentless.
It's really hard for young people.
You can't cough. You can't. If you make a person noise, you might as well pack it up and go home.
That's why I never hunted when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that.
No, it's at our ranch, you can do anything you want to as long as you're within about arm's reach of a truck, because they are used to seeing people and vehicles, and they know that they're safe if you're by your vehicle. As soon as you're an idiot out in the woods, it's tail up and they're gone. Like, if they see you moving around or they hear a cough, even from like 100 yards away, and like, wait a second, that's not where the pumper is supposed to be. Like, they're gone. They're not hanging around.
Got it.
So it's pretty weird because like I've probably sent you pictures, but like we'll corn down a road and sit in the truck with the truck running, listening to the music, and there's 30 deer down the road with corn on it. And that's kind of like pretty much if we put my son's 9, 10, 9 or 10. My daughter's 13. If they put enough appropriate amount of effort into it that year, and like we're just not having luck getting one, we just go corner road. And
Well, you have a certain number of doe tags and buck tags, right?
yeah, but we don't really do that. Like, I mean, we tag deer, but we don't. I've got 5 tags and I'm filling them. We just go shoot 1 buck and we're done.
So if they weren't seeing anything, like if they weren't seeing any good
We
bucks,
smack that
you would
easy
smack
button.
a doe.
Yeah, no, we're not going to shoot a doe. People are going to roast me. I don't care. But we have a 1-to-1 ratio. If anything, we have more bucks than we have doe because there's a lease around us that's a huge ranch, and they have a rule that they have to shoot 3 doe before they can shoot a buck. Because like most management practices, there's more doe than there are bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And to keep that a healthy balance, you have to shoot more doe than bucks. And at our ranch, we literally have more bucks than we do doe. So we don't shoot the doe.
Mm.
If we, I mean, I would shoot a doe. Honestly, I think I've shot 1 doe in my life. And I was skinning that thing, and there was a baby in there, and I was like, I'm done. I'm never doing this again.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
That sucks.
Shooting coyotes, shooting pigs, completely harmless or like heartless. I do not care. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
When I popped a baby out of a doe, I was like, I'm done. I'm never shooting a doe again.
Yeah. That would be traumatizing.
Yeah.
How old were you? Do you remember?
I was probably 13, 14.
Oh, yeah, that would do it.
And I was older than that. I think I was driving. I was 16, 17 probably. It was in January, so it's a little bit later in the season. So it had about 2 months of growth in there. And like it was a small deer.
Oh.
And I was like, I can't do this. I'm not gonna do it again. And so anyway, as long as I put some serious effort into trying to hunt, then we smack that easy button and put corn on the road and shoot a deer.
Like a spike or a small buck.
No, let's shoot a big buck.
The big ones still come out for that?
Yeah. Because they're used to seeing people in trucks. They don't care.
Oh, right. So they're not scared.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the privilege of having like a family to guide you on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't come from a family that hunts. How do you get started?
Oh yeah, how
to get started.
How
to get started in hunting? Can you give me like step 1?
So in Texas, it's very hard because everything's privately owned, and then there's a lot of people that come to Texas and they want to do the Texas thing. So people pay a lot of money to hunt on Texas ranches.
Is that usually exotic hunting and like fun hunting, or do you mean even just normal?
Just
like
normal.
I just want to shoot a buck.
So the way a lease works in Texas is typically you have like a stand that you can hunt in. So like a location that you can hunt in. You go sit in your stand and you have your feeder, and you paid anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000 to sit there, and you have that for the season. And usually you're on a lease. If it's a good lease, it's maybe like 1 person per 50 acres or per 100 acres. I don't know how they do it. I've never had to deal with it, and I'm very fortunate that I've never had to deal with it. But there might be 10 people on a property. Everybody's got their blind they go to and their feeder 100 yards away, and they sit there. And that's what hunting is for them. And some leases are a little bit different. If you're real lucky, you can find somebody that has property, doesn't give a crap about the hunting, or it may not be great hunting. And so the payoff isn't like, they'd rather not lease it to somebody they don't know for $3,000. So they'll let somebody they know hunt out there.
Sure. State land?
There's not much
Not
in
much in
Texas.
Texas,
Okay.
yeah.
Actually, there is a ton of state land in Texas, but it ain't close to here. And the hunting isn't very good.
Mm.
It's like Big Bend area, stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's just because we have such vast areas of nothing. It's state land.
Okay. Makes sense.
Oklahoma, I went to school at OU. There was like, I hunted public lakes and stuff like that. I never deer hunted there just because I could drive back to West Texas and go hunt. It was like 6 hours to go to my ranch, and I would just go there. And but the same place where you're duck hunting was like the wildlife management areas. And like there's a wildlife management area in Granger, which is 30, 45 minutes that you can hunt, like deer hunt at. But I had to put bells. So I duck hunt a lot, and I had to put bells on my dog so that people wouldn't shoot my dog, because I walked into where I was duck hunting, and one morning I was walking out there and I heard us. I was like, what was that? And somebody shot an arrow at my dog, thinking it was a hog. So
Bro.
from then I put a headlamp around his neck and bells on his collar. So that way, like, a light was swinging from his neck and like bells on his collar and stuff. If that guy would have shot,
Was this Doc?
that guy would have shot my dog, I'd have killed him.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. I'd knee jerk would have killed him.
That was Doc, wasn't it?
Yeah, Doc.
Yeah.
Somebody said, if somebody would have shot Doc, I would have. It may not even been very fast. But it's like, you're an idiot and you're gonna feel it for a minute. But they shot an arrow at Doc, so I put bells on his collar and a light and all kinds of stuff. I mean, as if I was 20 yards behind him with a decoy bag. Decoys are not quiet.
No.
Plastic, and they're
And
banging against
there's
each
a lot
other.
of them, so it's big.
And I wasn't trying to be quiet, and it's this huge bag, like huge bag of decoys, probably 24 decoys.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like, you're dumb enough for me
So
to
public
kill you.
land, then you're also risking there's
It's
other
very
people out
risky.
there. It's like,
There's other people there.
Okay.
And
You're assuming that they have all the same knowledge you have when you go out there.
yeah,
safety measures.
I
stuff
assumed
like
a
that.
lot. And anyway, and then there's other people, but there's like whole YouTube channels around public hunting and people that have a great success doing it
Sure.
and stuff. It's just Texas is hard.
So in terms of like, I'm coming from tactical games, so I learned how to shoot in tactical games.
Mhm.
I know how to shoot our rifle that we shoot in tactical games.
Yeah.
So can you hunt with that?
I've killed deer with a 223. Not suggested, probably. So like, this is another touchy subject. I don't care. So I'm just going to talk about it. People and deer are pretty similar with, deer have hair, we have close. They
Mhm.
have about the same skin thickness that we do. Their rib cages are about as big as our rib cages. So anything that you would shoot a person with, you shoot a deer with.
Yeah.
It's just like a 223 is probably not the most effective way to do it.
What if you shoot them in a certain spot?
Yeah, like that's also a different thing. But like, we did heart shots. So like in the pocket right behind their shoulder, like where their shoulder triangle comes down and like their chest wall meets their shoulder, like
Mhm.
right in their armpit is where we'd shoot. And their lungs are there and their heart is there and all that stuff. Some people do shoulder shots to like break their shoulders, and then when you break their shoulders, their lungs are sitting a little higher. So you'll go through both the lungs and then break their shoulders. So like they'll just drop kind of.
Oh wow.
We always went for the fastest on deer, which we can go into the other
Which
stuff
is
later,
heart?
but heart shots.
Okay.
So we'd go for heart shots on deer just because it kills them. Like they are dead. Sometimes they're running and they're dead. Like
Like a chicken.
yeah. And so you'll heart shot them. They maybe, I don't know how long, I'm not a doctor, but like I can't imagine how long you're gonna live and feel stuff after you get shot in the heart.
Probably
But,
not very long.
they'll run until they hit a tree. So it's kind of, you're not used to seeing it. Sometimes it can suck, but we heart shot and shoot them so that we die real fast.
So what is your preferred caliber then?
I grew up with a 270.
What's that?
270 is a 30-06 neck down to hold a 2.270 bullet, which means nothing to you. And probably
Well, I'm
most people-
tracking a little bit, but what's the difference with that bullet?
A good comparison, if a 223 is about the size of your pinky, a 270, like the whole shell, is going to be about the size of your middle finger.
Okay.
Like the brass and the bullet, maybe a little longer than that.
It's massive.
And the bullet weighs about 130 to 150 grains instead of 55 grains or 69 grains. And it has like 40 grains of powder instead of 24 grains of powder. So the bullet's going super fast would damage steel targets. So that's why you don't use it and that stuff.
Bolt gun or like an AR style?
I grew up hunting with a bolt gun.
Is that you have to do one
have to
at
lift.
a time, right?
Yeah, you lift it, pull it back, push it
Chamber
forward.
one.
Yeah, put it down. Yeah,
Is that what single? Is there a name for that?
it's bolt gun.
That's just it. Okay.
Yeah. And
That thing is called cycling the action, though.
yeah.
Cycling the
You have to
action.
lift the bolt, pull it back, push it forward, push the bolt back down.
Okay. Yeah.
In between each shot.
Why do hunters like prefer bolt guns like that? Just bigger rounds?
So like ARs, nobody hunted it with ARs till like what,
A few years ago. 10 years ago, maybe?
7 years ago.
Yeah.
Like
Why?
10 years ago, you were.
You were new if you were hunting with an AR.
I wouldn't say new. It was just like you were. It wasn't like a sporting rifle.
Yeah.
You know, people just hunted with bolt guns. Bolt guns have better triggers. You're also going for like one precise shot. You're not trying to like mow down 15 deer at a time. So there's no reason to have like just cycling, whatever. Like my kids hunt with, depends on where we're at. But if I know the shot's going to be 100 yards or less, we're hunting with 300 blackout. And it's a 30 caliber bullet going like 2,400 feet per second, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the recoil is really light. And that's the reason why. Like, I remember the first time I touched off a 270. Like, it was like
270 is like shooting a cannon style. Like,
it was like God punched me in the chest.
oh my
Yeah,
god!
It is stiff.
Yeah.
You did that when you were younger.
Yeah, I was like 7.
Oh,
I weighed like 55 pounds. And,
but you can shoot a 300 blackout out of an AR platform, can't you?
yeah, that's why my kids use it. Because the action and everything takes a lot of the recoil out of it. So that's what we use, like a 5-round magazine. Just, we don't use 30-round magazines. I put like a 5-round magazine in there. A lot of times I just put one bullet in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that way they don't accidentally like bump fire it.
Today.
But usually I'm there right next to them with another gun in case it starts to run or something. I'll shoot it again.
Okay.
And that's also
is 300 blackout like a range? You said if you're 100 yards and in, you have them shoot that.
Yeah.
Why specifically 100 and in?
The bullet's going slow. So a 300 blackout and a 308 are shooting the same caliber bullet. But a 308 is going to be pushing that same bullet like 600 feet per second faster.
Okay.
So when you're shooting one of 300 blackout, I don't know this for sure. Somebody's going to know and comment and try and make me look stupid, and that's fine. Go for it. But a 308 is probably going 300 blackout speeds at like 350, 400 yards.
Okay.
So you don't have a lot of
range.
you don't have a lot of range. It starts dropping off pretty quick, and you're losing a lot of energy. Like, you need knockdown power when it gets there, and a lot of it is like the shock force it has when it goes into the body cavity. So you want to make sure you're making like an ethical kill, and whenever it gets further than that, we shoot them with either 6.5 Creedmoor, or like this year I shot one with a 6 GT, like my competition gun, and like even a 6 GT shoots the same bullet that like a 243 does. In painfully simple terms, I know it doesn't. They're a little, whatever. One's 90 grains, one's like 110, but the 243 is probably like a super common one, which is a 300 or 308 neck down to hold a smaller bullet. And then there's 308 is like probably, I would say, like the standard
30-06.
30-06.
That's what I started hunting with, was a 30-06.
So a 30-06 and a 270 is the same brass. Just one has a smaller bullet that's going faster. One has a bigger bullet that's going a little slower.
Why do you want the smaller one for killing an animal?
Speed, it's shooting flatter. So you don't like at 300 yards with a 270, you aim like at the top of its shoulder and you're going to hit the heart. 308, you have to like aim off the body a little bit. So it's like the West Texas easy button for a bolt gun to deer hunt with is a 270. It shoots flat. They make good bullets for it. It's super fast, and it's like devastating when it hits.
Okay. So on any of these hunting rifles specifically, what do the scopes look like for that kind of thing? I have the frame of reference of shooting the tactical games like style
like
Razor, NX8.
3x9 to like all the way up to like really like 25 power is the most probably. People are probably using bigger scopes than that, but like a 3x9 or up to 14 power, 16 power. Those are good scopes for deer hunting.
So it'd be really similar.
Yeah. You're not really, most people aren't taking, like the reason why I didn't say how far I shot that deer from on the internet is most people should probably not be shooting a deer further than like 300 yards. So
What did you shoot it at?
pretty far.
We're not going to say it on here.
Yeah. I'm not signing up for that. I shot it at an appropriate distance for me.
Yeah. Well, right. So like, why is that so bad? If I mean, your experience.
Because a lot of people don't understand how much time I put into making guns shoot the way they do.
Right. So like, it makes sense. Okay. So 300 is like the standard.
I would say for most people, you're not shooting over 100 at a deer.
Unless you're shooting what's the one you had your kids shoot 100 and what caliber was that?
300 blackout.
300 blackout. Then it's
Yeah.
like 100 and roughly.
Yeah. And then like my wife shot a deer at 260, something like that. But it was also with my gun, and I also ranged it, and I also turned the dials.
Yeah. I was going to ask about that.
Set the gun up, and she put the center of the crosshair where the bullet needed to go and pulled the trigger.
So when you go out hunting for that kind of stuff, like you might potentially have a longer range. You have binos with the rangefinder in them, and obviously your weapon. Like, what are their essentials?
I have a spotting scope because we're very particular about the deer that we shoot. I don't want to shoot a deer that hasn't reached its full potential yet. You owe it to the deer to let it reach its full potential. Like if you're going to kill it, you owe it that. Then you also want that deer to be breeding. So if it's a really good deer and it's young, you don't want to kill it. You want to let it go so it can go out and spread those genetics. Because like if it's a really healthy big deer, you want that in your gene pool. So you have to make sure you want to know the difference between like where I hunt in the part of the country I hunt, it's extremely rough situation out there, like droughts, flooding, like you name it. It's hot as hell. It's cold as hell. There's droughts, and then it rains a lot. Like it's everything. So they're not getting much older. Like 7.5-year-old deer, you're probably not going to see one of those walking around. So you want to we want to make sure they're like 5.5.
How do you know?
Man, so their nose gets long, and then it bows down. When you're looking at an old person, you know how their back kind of like a person, their back gets a little bit round and their stomach sticks out. The deer does the same thing, except it's horizontal to the ground. So their belly gets a little bit looser, and like their belly, like their rib cage ends, and then their belly pocket will start, and like their belly droops down. And then when their chest gets bigger than their hind corners, you know that they're mature. That they may not be as old as you want them to be, but they're mature deer. If they have like narrow shoulders that haven't broadened out and gotten big yet, you can tell by comparing the front quarters to the back quarters. And you want them to be chest heavy. You want their back to sag a little bit, and then you want their stomach to like, you watch their rib cage line, and then their stomach droops down from that. And like they have like a pocket. It's like old people, their stomach sag, and you want your deer's stomach to sag a little bit.
Yeah.
They get dark in between their antlers from their scent glands releasing anyway, that's a whole different thing, but like they get dark between their antlers. The spots in between their knees, so they have glands in between their knees. We call them hawks. I don't know what people call them there's a scientific name, but redneck name, they're hawks. It's when they pee, their pee hits that and it turns that super nasty, smells like crap. Right when you shoot one, you try and cut them off so it doesn't taint the meat.
On like the inside of their knee?
Yeah. It's like a really dark patch of hair, and it's like tough and oily and nasty, and it smells horrible.
Yep.
So you want their hocks to be really dark, their stomach to sag, you want their back to sag, their chest to be bigger than their butt, and then just look at it. And you try and like put all those things together to make a really good estimate at how old it is before you shoot it. Because you do not want to shoot you don't want to be in our family, you don't want to be the person that comes back with a dead 3.5-year-old giant deer.
Yeah.
So, and it's also just being a good steward of the land, right? Like making sure that you're not impacting the animals at your place in a negative way.
Right.
So
what I'm hearing is I can't go take my tactical games rifle out and just slap a deer. And I'm kind of sad about it.
and just because you can, probably shouldn't. I mean, I got guns you can borrow.
Sure.
But yeah, like there's a lot of like 6 arc. You can shoot one with a 6 arc. You just the smaller the bullet, the more careful you have to be. Like people are gonna crush me for saying that too, but like you always want to be careful what you're shooting, where you're shooting, but the distance that you're shooting at starts shrinking as the
caliber
power
goes down.
of your cartridge starts going down.
Got it.
And you owe it to the animal. You owe it to deer. I'm not going to say animal. You owe it to deer to kill them very fast and painless.
Mhm.
All animals should die that way. So, anyway, but you can shoot them when they're facing right at you. You can shoot them basically mid chest, and it just makes a mess. Like when you're cleaning them, the bullet is going to go maybe through the heart, through the lungs, and then straight through that. There's like a membrane wall that goes like halfway. It basically separates your guts from your lungs. Anyway,
Mhm. Yeah.
As soon as the bullet passes through that bad rascal and goes into the guts, Jared's throwing up about 400 times.
Like smell or
It
Everything.
smells. There's literal poop everywhere inside of the body cavity. Guts, undigested food, everything's in there.
Did your dad grow up making you gut your own deers?
I just started gutting my own when I was probably, I don't know. I always helped him.
A teenager?
Like,
maybe?
you have to go find a rock. It's a long story.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into that.
We would always yak when we did it too.
I would like hold different parts of it for him while he was doing it.
him.
And, but I don't know. I think I was probably 11 or 12 when I actually started holding the knife. I have a soft stomach, and not for seeing it. I have a soft stomach for the guts. Like if I have to smell it, I am running. Like,
yeah.
So, if you shoot it when it's facing you, more than likely you're going to have a mess to clean up when you're cleaning it.
Okay.
And, but you can shoot them. People shoot deer and all. People shoot them in the neck. People shoot them all kinds of places. But we've just always shot for the heart. It's clean with the broadside on a heart. It just passes through the heart. Maybe clips a lung or two, whatever. And when you clean it up, like when you start to gut them, like here's the heart with a hole in it. Here's a lung with a hole in it. And like everything's where it should be, and everything kind of looks like it should look like. Sometimes the heart kind of, you don't find the heart. It's just in 1,000 pieces. But everything's clean in there. So that's the way we like to shoot them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Bonus question: do you eat any of the weird parts of it, like
No.
the heart or the liver?
No.
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 I've eaten deer liver before, not from anything I shot, but friends of mine had gotten a deer, and I did the liver thing. Like literally, they killed it that morning, and then we ate the liver that afternoon.
Nope.
It was gross. I mean,
You know what the liver does? Processes bad shit out of your body. Yeah.
filter stuff.
So no, I ain't none of that. And like eating the heart, nope, never had to do it. My dad never asked me to do it, and I'm not going to do it, and I'm never going to make anybody around me do it. That is gross. And some people may eat it. That's great. And I'm happy for them, and they can have it. If I ever get that desperate, I'm just going to shoot another deer. No, but there's that, and then like hogs and coyotes and everything.
Sounds like
that,
we're
so-
having deer steaks at Jared's house this weekend.
Right?
Yeah, dude, it's ready. I gotta go pick up 3 deer.
Dude,
That's
that's a
so
lot.
awesome.
That's a lot of food.
Yeah.
I'm so interested in getting started in that because I mean, through tactical games, I learned how to shoot and got a lot of exposure to the gun industry in general. And like, I don't know, I just didn't come from a family where that was where we had a lot of knowledge about these sort of things. Right. So I've always wanted to hunt, but I didn't know how to shoot appropriately for it. And now I feel like I have these skills for shooting.
We can go shoot coyotes.
But I want
And
to go
hogs.
hunt
Whatever you want.
real life stuff.
We can go pretty soon. I was gonna go out there tomorrow. but I'm not going anymore. I don't know. I mean, really, we hunt coyotes at night, and we shoot hogs a lot, and that's a lot of fun.
Do you
But
eat those?
no.
These are the infested with diseases ones.
The hogs?
Yeah,
They
right.
can be. Yeah.
They're not all infested. In my mind, they are, because
Okay.
I've cut into a nasty one and it ruined me for life. I cut into one to clean it and reached up inside of it. So like you reach up inside and then grab the trachea and all of its arteries and like up in its neck, and you reach up with a knife and cut it all, and you grab onto all of that stuff and you start pulling towards its butt, really, and you're pulling everything loose as it's coming out. And I reached up in its neck and grabbed all that and grabbed a handful of maggots, and like I'm almost throwing up right now talking about it.
Oh.
But the meat gets worms in it. I've seen the worms in the meat, and there's certain times of the year that are a lot better for hogs, and like you can kill the little hogs. Let me tell you something. People are like, oh, you get the little ones and the meat's clean. No, that's nasty too. Like it's all nasty.
Yeah.
And people cook it enough and stuff, but we have a ton of hogs, and coyotes need to eat too. So we shoot those, and
Call the coyotes in with them.
yeah, we shoot those and give them a pat and say, good hog, and walk away. But I don't know if it's just like the area that we're in or what it is, but it is nasty, and we don't eat those. And anyway, we'll shoot those things in the butt just so they'll run away. But
Sure.
anyway,
Those are also a problem, and you need to get rid of them, right? In Texas.
huge problem. I have cameras. I have game cameras, pictures of. I'll show them to you. Hogs everywhere.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that some
Okay.
another one.
Got anything else?
Nope.
Cool.
No.
That's it. Cool. See y'all next time.